This is video 2 in the series for making a scrunchie for the We So Love Zambia ladies. As you can see, this I have finished. I've gone all the way around the outside. Now, I did, just for the sake of speed, did a running stitch, but as we discussed in class, that's not acceptable. It's not going to work in the long run, but you'll be able to see what I've done, my path. I want you to do a back stitch. That's going to be much, much nicer, and people will be more willing to pay you for your work. So I did my knot here, jumped across that opening. I did, a back stitch, and then I did 2 back stitches over here, continued to the end, and now my needle is still connected. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn this right side out. And that's a little bit of a process, and it's going to look a little crazy, but when we get to the other end, you'll be less tangled up. So my process, and I'm going to turn the end that's got my string so that I don't have to pull it through later. If you ever do it the opposite way, you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to just keep going and pulling the right side out. Unfortunately, with the white fabric, you can't really tell the right side from the wrong side except for where my stitching is, but it is a good choice because you can see my stitches. So I'm going to kind of push that in there, keep going. It takes a little bit to get it turned, and notice here, this is the hole we left where I jumped across. That's an important thing. You're gonna be glad you have that little hole there. And it's still turning. We've got a lot of fabric in there. Almost there. All right, I see the end. Now, I'm going to show you something. After you get this turned, do you notice how my seam starts here in the middle, and then it wanders over there and it ends up on the outside? So they aren't lining up with each other. Here's one seam and there's the other. They're opposite of each other. We do not want that. You don't want to send a scrunchie out like that, okay? So what I'm going to do is sit and get mine so that that seam is on the outside of this circle all the way around. So now if I kind of tip it up, you'll be able to see, you see that? It's all the way on the outside. All right, and they're together up here, which is important. If I can untangle my string a little bit. Okay, so they're together, one on top of the other. And in fact, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and tuck one inside the other, like this. All right. And in class, we talked about, you won't need to do this long term. Once you've got the idea of how this works, I know it's hard to explain, especially long distance. If we were together in person, it'd be a lot easier. But we talked about just putting a pin there momentarily. You can remember, you can find it that way. All right, and I'm gonna, for my project, I'm gonna put RS and RS, right side. So you can tell this is the right side, the outside of my project. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm finding this hole. I need this hole because I have to get at these 2 raw edges somehow from the inside. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my thumb in here and I'm going to slide it along. I'm going to remove this. And, actually if I kind of folded that under, I think I pinched where they meet. This is where they meet. Here's, if I stuck my thumb like that so you can see it, I'm putting them back in there. All right, now I'm going to pinch it. So my thumb is here, my forefinger's here. I'm pinching them together, and that's holding on to those 2 raw seams or fabric edges. All right, and I've stuck it now, so they're the opposite way. My thumb is on the outside, my finger's on the inside. And I'm just going to wiggle this around until I can see. There we go, I found it. Okay, so these are the 2, before we turned it, we had them like this together. Now I've turned it and it's looking like quite the mess. I can't see the whole circle, but that we aren't going to worry about that. That doesn't matter. What we're going to do now is we're going to take and tuck this in. So it's like I have half of scrunchie. Half of it is wrong side out, half of it is right side out. like that. So here's our elastic. This bunch looks a little crazy. It's okay. We aren't worrying about what's happening over here. All we want to do is right here, we want to get everything lined up. I'm going to get my needle to come out. Okay. And then just manipulate your project until the cut edges are together. Okay, so mine aren't quite. I'm going to keep going. I have to work around that piece of elastic. You know, it's just by nature, it's in the way. I just kind of wiggle around it, and I'm getting pretty close. I wish I did have different colors inside and outside so you could tell better. But, all right, I'll show you. You see how my seams are lined up with each other, and the cut edges are together all the way around. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to take our needle and we're going to sew all the way around. I'll kind of draw this line on here so you can see. Let me lay it down. And, you know, while you're sewing, you're going to have to work your way around that elastic. That's just because it's in there. This would be a pointless project if we didn't have the elastic in there. All right. So this is a really great trick, and you will use this as you learn to do apparel. This is a common trick that you do when you're doing something where you want to hide some seams. You find yourself a little hole where you can sneak in and sew, and then later up cover your tracks. So that's what we're doing. So I've made that line, and I'm going to start sewing. I just picked up my needle from where I dropped it earlier. Okay, and same thing, we're going to back stitch our way around this opening, and I'm just going to take a minute to show you again. All right, this opening happens, we've got the two cut edges of that big, you know, our big long project that we had like this. What we've done is turn these so they're one inside the other. But this is how it looks when we do that because we're inside of a circle. All right, just trust the process. Keep wiggling yours, stop the video if you have to, rewind it. It's all fine because once you've got the idea, some people will be very good at this if they've got strong abstract skills. I had to do it a few times before my, I'm more of a concrete thinker, not as much of an abstract. So it took me a little while to get this. Once you've got it though, you will be good to go. You'll use this trick a lot. Okay, so I'm going to keep sewing all the way around, and then I'll join you back up on video number 3, and we'll talk about where do we go from here.